Welcome to Truth Behind Travel Podcast, a platform for tourism, travel, and hospitality professionals and enthusiasts to share, learn, and unlearn what we need to create better tourism, protect the environment, and become better humans. I'm your host, Dolores Semeraro, and every week I bring on the podcast the voices of those out there making a difference to learn the hard truth behind the world of travel and tourism, what works and what we can collectively do better. Welcome to Truth Behind Travel 2026. New year, new season. We're dedicating it to exploring and discussing how people travel, why, and how we can read between the lines to understand the bigger travel picture. The conversations you've heard on the podcast are never dull. The experts who have been gracious enough to share their insights, never boring. And the comments I have received throughout season 4 were never negative. In fact, they were very reassuring and heartwarming. And for that, I thank you for sticking around. In today's episode, as we all brace for what will be a busy year in travel and tourism, I took a little fun time to observe the travel trends we will be witnessing in 2026. Some were new, some others not so much, but it was good to bring them back to light. Or, like in trend number 7, to actually not bring them to light and to switch off that light. You'll see more later on. Trends are signs of major shifts in people preferences, values, behaviors. But the funny thing is that with them, new words come to life, which we use to define and describe the nature of travel trends. So on today's episode, I'm not just going to go about the trends. We will observe 10 new words you will be hearing in the travel space and what they are underlying as a significant travel trend that is worth of notice. So here we go. 10 new travel and tourism words that will impact 2026 travel trends. Number 1, AI vegan. What? Is there such a thing? Since the day something called ChatGPT entered the daily life of most of internet users not long ago, everyone has become acutely aware of what is artificial intelligence, or something called AI. But if we have to be honest, AI has been part of the way we plan travel, choose travel, perceive travel, long before ChatGPT came along. Travelers were just not that aware yet. However, it's only now that many are voicing concerns about the extreme use of tools like ChatGPT. And I'm pretty sure that I have here on the podcast listening today both AI enthusiasts and AI vegan. Which one are you? So what are those? What are these AI vegan? So let's say people that have chosen to abstain from using AI-powered tools for ethical, personal, or even environmental reasons. These are the people who define themselves as AI, artificial intelligence vegan, meaning they're not getting any, they're not using any. And there is even a Wikipedia page about it. I'm looking at the way I work online and the way I go about my daily work chores and what do I do, what do I not do online, what do I use. So I ask myself, am I an AI vegan? I can't say I am, and not because of the use of ChatGPT, but because AI is pretty much the core engine of every single tool, app, software out there today, even more so in travel planning, making, selling, promoting, anything in the travel and tourism sphere. So unless you don't use the internet at all, I don't think you can say you are AI vegan. However, for some reasons, it's a term that is out there these days. So I'm curious to see to what extent it will polarize people in the coming months. Number 2, astro cruising. The poor cruise industry, not so poor after all, is enduring the criticisms of their sustainability credentials for a long time now. And without a glitch, let's say, it just goes on. Because the truth is that people do book cruises. And now one of the key motivators is the fact that on a cruise, you don't just enjoy yourself, but you can actually see the sky and the stars. Cruising seems to be a great way to learn about the skies in an uncompromised patch of stars with no light pollutions. To actually be out at sea seems to be pretty much one of the very few ways that remains out there to actually see the stars. Perhaps even in conjunction with special events in 2026, as for example, the total solar eclipse happening on the 12th of August this year, or the total lunar eclipse happening on the 3rd of March this year. And why not the Ring of Fire, the so-called Ring of Fire, the annular solar eclipse happening very soon on February 17. So these are key astrological events that are motivating people to book their holidays in a dark sky path. So more on that night sky secret trends will be unveiled in trend number 7. Now we're just at the number 2, astro cruising. So stick around for number 7. Number 3, dry tourism. That you may have heard around the concept of January. So move away, dry January. Not drinking alcohol is not just something people do after the festive extravagances to cleanse and detox. Dry as meaning not drinking alcohol at all. It's also called sober travel or dry tripping. Whatever you want it. Dry tourism applies to people not drinking any alcohol while traveling. So how many times have you heard upon arrival in a restaurant or in a luxury hotel, a glass of champagne, welcome? But now the answer might not just be what everyone expects, with what we can now call a sure decline in a binge drinking. I mean, especially around the drinking behavior of Gen Z. Dry tourism is now coming out as a whole new range of travelers that doesn't want to be welcomed with a glass of bubbly or to find a mini bar full of alcohol in the hotel room. They rather have a variety of non-alcoholic beverages at the ready. And so let's be honest, that tend to be quite scarce in terms of variety and appeal in many cases. I mean, the usual Coca-Cola, the usual Fanta and soft drinks are fizzy and in most cases unhealthy. So sobriety during holidays and in general travel is something that doesn't just call back to personal well-being or health choices. It also refers to a more conscious choice of simply being more present in the moment, so to speak, while experiencing something truly special as you travel, right? Not just that, but personal safety plays a big role in dry tourism, with not drinking meaning being more vigilant while abroad, either traveling alone or with others. Well, we still remember the recent cases of alcohol poisoning in Vietnam that led to those tragic events that were reported last year. So dry tourism, we'll be hearing more of this. People are already jumping on the case. Companies are already working with hotel companies to design with them a whole curated selection of non-alcoholic beverages, from what resemble a champagne glass to the taste of a wine glass, anything between kombucha and non-alcoholic brews. It's actually already coming out there. So watch out for those in the near future. Number 4, glow mads. Now imagine a hint of, if we want to get the recipe, a hint of wellness travel, a little bit of self-pampering retreat, and add just a dash of social media FOMO on beauty products, and here you have it. The perfect recipe for a trend that highlights an ever-growing demand for the pursuit of the perfect skin, glowing appearance, and a youthful overall result. This is glow mads. People traveling for beauty purposes. That is not just a trend. And if we really step away for a moment from the preconception that beauty seekers are female-only tribes, let's just also include, let's be inclusive here. Let's think about the most common destination for hair transplant, like Turkey, for example, where men have the lead on hair transplant. A full hair transplant can cost just as little as $3,000, or a plastic surgery in the cheap nose jobs capital of Albania, Tirana, where a full rhinoplastic surgery can go as low as $1,500, all in the name of looking better. And as for the skincare and the lovely army of glow-mads silently flying around the world to get the best skincare treatment, we might find some of them, or most of them, actually in Seoul, in Korea. But watch out for the North European countries, such as Norway and Sweden, where more elemental skincare that takes into considerations the stars, the moon, and the snow, and the water and the fire, and not just, chemically produced skincare, it's actually on the rise. Number 5, hybrid travel. Not sure if this is new. We spoke about it in the past. We call it bleisure, workation, and so on. So the blending of work and travel is happening no matter what. The reason why this could be worth looking into is the exponential increase of nomadic remote workers. Matching a great place to live with a work schedule that allows you to be anywhere is at the base of this trend. And destinations are now jumping on the opportunity. In the last 2 years, more than 20 countries have added their digital nomad visa to the other 50 countries, so bringing it to a total of up to 70 countries now around the world offering digital nomad visas. So something that is signaling not just a trend, but a new direction. Number 6, low-impact souvenirs. Yay! AKA edible shelfies. Think of this. One-size-fits-all souvenirs shops made in China or Bangladesh or any other countries that is not the country where you are actually buying the souvenirs. Now, edible souvenirs are on the rise, and I love it. Low-impact souvenirs are all we have been preaching for in the sustainability corridors of tourism destinations. But what wasn't clear enough was if travelers would actually prefer them to, let's say, a flag or a coaster with a flag, or a mug with a flag, or a magnet with a flag. You get my point. I have just been to Budapest myself, and I was strolling around the city where I admit I also bought a magnet. Yes, because I do collect them. It's my thing. And I saw that there was a sincere, overwhelming majority of mega stream souvenir shops, as opposed to the very few craft shops, embroidery shops, where one could actually buy something made in Hungary. So again, the truth behind the conversation and the reality of it, it's not that straightforward. Apparently, people are also scouting souvenirs elsewhere, not just in the souvenirs shop, and are enjoying going grocery shopping while on holidays to peek through the shelves of a local supermarket and bring home what local people actually buy and cook. So here we are, the shelfies souvenirs. So souvenirs that people buy from the supermarkets, things that you can eat. That paprika from Budapest, for example, and other spices or local food that can bring back the momentum, can bring back the memories when you're cooking it back at home, when you're inviting your friends after you come back from the holidays. And by all means, it is certainly more circular economy friendly for destinations, but also shows a shift in travel awareness, I think, as we are moving a little bit away, thankfully, from the shallow window shopping travel and actually reliving the experiences long after we have returned home. So now I just want to see who shows up to my next self-made goulash dinner. I'm waiting for that moment. Number 7, nocturism. Well, visiting a very famous place and have it all for yourself, it's not a myth. Let's say, for example, the Taj Mahal. It may seem impossible to most of travelers, but what if this would happen during the night hours instead of at the peak hours of the day? This is one of the growing trends in travel and tourism for 2026 and worth of observation. Nocturnal tourism, or what they call nocturism. Fully aware of personal safety always, regardless of where travelers may be heading this year, exploring at night does not just mean walking around in half-lit back streets of capital cities, but a whole different way of discovering and appreciating places that would otherwise be crowded during the day. An example of nocturism is, for example, stargazing, which may not be a trend. We spoke about it earlier in star cruising. But if we look at the ever-increasing light pollution affecting even the most remote corners of the world and growing 10% annually, according to National Geographic, almost like saying we just can't seem to be able to do the simple thing as of switching off the lights. There are companies like Dark Sky International that are devoted to preserving the skies and its natural darkness. So if you're looking for the best spot to take that night vision time lapse, you may want to check their website for the dark parks around the world. And it doesn't have to be that far or as far as a safari in South Africa. It can also be an overnight on a sandbank in the Maldives or a cruise in the Northern Seas where the cruise ship companies are promising, hear it, a return trip free of charge if you don't see the aurora lights. Nocturism is not just about stargazing, but it can also refer to travelers making most of their times abroad at night instead of during the day, perhaps visiting monuments, famous districts like in the Kyoto Geisha district in Japan, or even global landmarks like the Taj Mahal in India, where only 50 lucky guests can visit the Taj Mahal at night on full moon days. Number 8, pop culture-led tourism. Not my favorite, I have to say, but we live in an era of pop culture. What does that mean? For starter, the word itself, pop, something that pops, done, it's gone, it has popped. So it symbolizes the shortness and even shorter presence of whatever that is in our life. So how does this relate to travel? Movies, TV shows, songs, sometimes books, yes, books, are influencing the choice of a destination because media often idolizes the location where it was filmed. And this is not always good. And many sets locations are often not ready to welcome that kind of volume of visitors. If you put together a short-term interest times 3 if the show or movie has become famous, then you multiply it by the volume of today's reach on social media, you will have unfortunate results, such as the ones we've seen in Thailand and Maya Bay, or in Croatia, in Dubrovnik with the Game of Thrones mania, and many others where over-tourism was directly connected to the never-ending quest for more. This is connected to the next one. Number 9, romantasy. If we look out there, it's January. The movie award season is in full swing. There's a tendency for cinematic escapism, and that means that people are loving movies and TV series that takes them to another era, that makes them escape their today. It takes them to another time. Think of Bridgerton Saga, The Gilded Age, and more similar concepts that are fueling what's now called romantasy, the mix between romance and fantasy. How does that work in travel? In travel, this refers to the search for experiences and locations that, yes, are romantic, but romance alone doesn't cut it anymore. It needs to recall the fantasy element of one of these period drama that are so popular nowadays. It brings you back into the landscape you've seen in the movies, and companies like Aquatour, for example, in the UK, are doing just that. I get it. There's a lot of binge watching going on around lately, unfortunately. And if you match this to a near obsessive use of social media that turns gender aficionados into actual location stalkers, all in the name of a post on social media that says, I was there, suddenly this trend doesn't sound very romantasy to me. It sounds scary. Last one, number 10, perhaps my favorite, if not the favorite, the skillcation. Alas, people are now showing signs of actual interest beyond absent-minded travel mania and are favoring going on holidays with the intent of learning something new, a new skill. So hello, skillcations. For many, a holiday is still a holiday without a deeper meaning, a profound sense of life, or anything too hard to do or feel. Let it just be a holiday, no string attached. Nothing wrong with that. However, hear me. Studies show that we have come out much more refreshed and energized from periods of rests and holidays when we have put our mind at learning something new, more than just spending time doing nothing. So a skillcation is the perfect blend of a holiday with a purpose, which serves not just service providers of the travel industry, giving them the opportunity to create more experiences, something different, something more interesting, perhaps leaning into local craftsmanship and just kind of like helping tourists learn them a little bit more. But it also feels the personal growth-led perspective on life that seems to be so paramount these days. We have to grow. We have to have a personal growth. What if mastering skills, learning something new, or just spending time doing that one thing you really love, that is a skillcation. Of course, a trend is always something we read between the lines of what we observe in travel and tourism. There isn't a request for so-called skillcations holidays as such. But if operators will observe the true nature of that next booking, they might just be selling a skillcation without even knowing it. So here you have it, 10 new words that are underlying significant trends for 2026 in the tourism and travel industry. Some of them are new, some of them not so new, some of them are a bit absurd. And what is always interesting is to observe what motivates these trends. And then, of course, we have a little fun playing with words and creating a definition of what is actually a behavioral shift. So what is always important, in my opinion at least, is to see what is the behavioral shift we are witnessing and to understand what is causing it and where it's heading so that we don't just land into a moment of, oh, we have to find a solution to this. Like, for example, the romanticism that has led to pop culture-led choices in travel and of people going to places where a movie was filmed and then obviously destroying because that place was very fragile and didn't have the possibility to cater for so many people. What is happening is always worth observing, and to observe and be conscious about where it's heading in terms of travel, tourism, hospitality, it's ultimately our responsibility as operators in the industry. So if you're listening to this podcast and you think that any of these trends is worth a conversation, or maybe you find yourself in the specific niche of one of these trends, contact me. Let's have a conversation. Let's dig deeper. Let's dive into a more purpose-led, content value-driven conversations on this podcast. Thank you so much for being with me today on this very first episode of 2026. We explored 10 new words that are going to be around for a while, for the rest of the year in travel and tourism, and what are the travel trends they are hiding behind. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. More of it will come soon. Season 4 has just ended with a fantastic, incredible selection of speakers that has brought so much value to the podcast conversation. Go back a few episodes, find the one that resonates the most with you. Listen back to the episodes or just take your time to understand who the speakers are. I think season 4 was my best season on the podcast yet. Well, yet to come. This year, surprise, surprise, I'm going to do something a little different on the podcast. Very soon, I will embark on a journey of 12 months around the Americas, from North to South America, along what is called the Pan American Highway. So in many cases, you will find me podcasting from Southern California or from the heart of Mexico or somewhere in Chile or Peru or Colombia or even in Argentina. I'll be collecting stories, testimonials, the truth of the travel I do and the truth of the travel I see and witness myself during this journey. I hope to take you along with me. And until next time, see you soon and be well, my friends.